First slide. All right. Perfect. All right. So everyone, my name is Akash Thakkar. I'm a graduate of the Berklee College of Music. Majored in electronic production and design, which was kind of the major where you just did whatever you want. So I focused in game audio. I didn't want to be one of the cool kids who played jazz. So that's why I'm here with you today. So before we begin, I want you all to stand up. Bear with me. All right, so I want you to all close your eyes and just shake your hands out as if you're just loosening them. Shake them out and hum to yourself. It doesn't matter what note. All right, we're done. Sit back down. That was a mini intermission. That's just to get you back, basically. That had nothing to do with my presentation.
Shaking off.
Yeah, just shake out, yeah. So anyway, this is Hey Listen, an Everyman's Guide to Game Audio. So this is going to be a very short and sweet presentation, and please leave your questions to the end. I have a whole section for that, and yeah, so let's begin. So I come to you today with a simple message. Considering audio early on in the design process will drastically improve the quality of your game. Let me say that again. Considering audio early on in the design process will drastically improve the quality of your game. Now, before you rush me with pitchforks and torches, allow me to explain. It's all too common that audio is brought in at the very end of the game development cycle or just late in general. So basically, let's go over a, common scenario, let's say. So you've got your game. Simple. You have your idea. You have your target audience, so you're really on track. You even have a design document, all that sort of good stuff. And you're developing for the latest technology. Everything's going fantastic. This is great. Lo and behold, you also have a team. You have programmers, artists, designers, maybe even a producer and QA if you're really lucky. All this stuff, fantastic, awesome. Yes, you're making a game. All is well. You have a release date, you have a publisher, and you're ready to reap the rewards of your hard work. But, of course, you all know where I'm going with this because this is an audio talk. I'm sure you can guess. There's one thing left, audio. This happens all the time. I'm sure all of the audio designers in the room will nod their head. I see a lot of nodding heads right now, actually. We are the odd man out, which is all too common. It is left until the last minute. In fact, one of my record, I guess you could say, is 5 games in 48 hours. Sound and music, top to bottom. It was awful. It was terrible. But this is a common thing that happens, especially in the indie world. It's not nearly as common in the AAA world, of course, where you have a guy there all the time ready to work for you. But it is a common thing that happens. So hopefully, with this talk, I can dispel that a bit. Get you guys to stop it. Just stop.
It's not us.
So let's go over why audio matters. I don't really need to go into that with you guys. You're all experienced developers. You're all really good at this, whether you're audio programmer or whatever. But let's just go over this real quick. Audio can obviously contribute a lot to a game. It can be half or more than half of the experience. There are games that, of course, you can turn all the music and sound off and just put on your own music and just, lounge out and just play it. That's fine. Those games exist. They need to exist. There are also games like Journey and Flower and Flow, which all happen to be part of the same company. But there are also games like Limbo and Braid, where the audio can play an integral role in the game. Although it's not exactly influencing the gameplay, it immerses you in a way that no other medium can. Now, it often goes unnoticed, but this is not necessarily a bad thing. If it's unnoticed by the player, not necessarily a bad thing. If they're noticing the sounds and they're not an audio person, that might not be a good thing. Bad music and bad sound gets noticed by anybody. But if it's not noticed by the developer, that can be an issue. But it can help you make a killer first impression. Now, I'm a little bit of a neuroscience geek, so going into neuroscience about it, audio completely surpasses the prefrontal cortex, which is this part of your brain. Goes straight to the emotional part of the brain. Gets processed incredibly quickly. And this all has to do with your first impression. All of you guys, I know a bunch of you show off your work regularly at these IGDA meetups, which you have a ton of. It's awesome. Having this little extra bit of polish when you really want to show it off, Kickstarter or something like that, Steam Greenlight, whatever, this can help. Audio can be a huge boon for you. So, where do you find that right audio person? Now, if you're lucky to be at PopCap, you already have Guy and Becky, so you don't really need to go looking. But if you're an indie, you don't really know, who should I get? How do I look? How do I contact them? Do I pick one person? Do I need a team of sound designers? Do I need more than one composer? There's a lot of different variables there. But of course, being in Seattle or in Washington in general, you're lucky enough to have all these meetings. Knowing them in person can be a big deal for you. You can tell, all right, this guy has a personality that would have a good fit for my game. This guy or girl has a personality or a style that would fit well for this game. You can really tell. Now, picking can be a bit of a tricky one, especially if you're not finding someone in person. You can, of course, look at portfolios and such online, contact them and that sort of stuff. One piece of advice I would give you is if you're listening to their SoundCloud or looking at their YouTube portfolio, all that sort of stuff, you like what they do, but what they do isn't exactly perfect for your game, still contact them. I can guarantee you they can do what you're asking them for if they're a professional. Most of these guys really like to stretch, go out a little bit outside of their comfort zone and work. So if they are someone who you feel would just be a good fit in terms of passion, personality, and may not have the exact right musical style, you should still get in touch with them, see what they can do for you. And picking one person versus a team is obviously a matter of scope. So this would be more if you are just a small team and you need one guy to do both music and sound design, great, fantastic. There are people who can do both, there are people who focus on sound design, and there are people who focus on just music. So if you have a few more resources, it's not a bad idea if you can, I'm not stressing that everybody do this, to split it up, have one composer and one sound designer, one composer and 3 sound designers, however you want to break it up. It's not common to have more than one composer, but it does happen. I'm not saying it's impossible. So split it up how you see fit and how much stuff, how many assets you want in your game, and of course what your timeline is. So, communication is key. Now, we're going to go into how to talk to your audio person once you have them. Giving useful and effective feedback and letting them know what you want can be a tricky part, especially with audio. It's kind of a nebulous, intangible discipline. There's a weird dialogue that we use like TSP and compressors and we love limiters, all that sort of stuff, which mean, not precious little to programmers. So one thing I would recommend is as soon as you get the audio person that you want, get a common ground, get some sort of dialogue between you. Words that you can both use to give feedback and let them know what you want. So instead of using really vague words like happy or sad, use more specific words, abandoned, delightful, elated, heroic. These sorts of words can give really good feedback and letting them know what you want. Just as an example of what not to do, I've had people say, I want the music to sound blue or orange and that sort of stuff. I've had someone come up to me and say, I want the music to sound... He did that. He said, I want the music to sound... You know what that meant? It meant aggressive. It took 2 months of work to find out that meant aggressive because I didn't do this. That could have saved 2 months of time if all I did was getting that common dialogue. This is incredibly important. So don't get into that situation. And the last thing is asking for more. This is a great thing. If you are afraid to ask your audio person for more, don't be. This can be a great thing. You want more sound, you want some more effects, you want more music, and you hired them early, and you have more time, fantastic. But the vast majority of people will say yes to it. They may charge a little more, they may not. I'll be going into payment in a bit later. But this is great. If you want the music to be more interactive, if you want this branch to flow into this, I can't think of one game audio professional who would say, no, that sounds boring, or I don't want to do that. Do this. Be assertive if you want to be, if you want the audio to do more for you. So, going into hiring early versus hiring late, obviously I'm all about getting the audio guy early. And as all of you know, whether you're audio or a developer of any other discipline, game development is nothing but failing upwards together as a group. It's constant roadblocks and failing until something just happens to come out and it's great and you're really happy about it. So when you bring audio people in at the last minute, or anyone on your team at the last minute, you're robbing them of the ability to grow with your team. That can be a huge deal. I'm sure all of you who have worked on this, games with the same team over and over, or similar teams over and over again, can attest that this glue kind of forms between you. You can see how everyone works. You have a feeling of, this is how this artist will present these assets to me on this day. You can just tell. And when a guy comes in, or girl, 1 month before, they won't have that. They won't have that kind of intrinsic ability to tell how everyone works. Now, I talked to Austin Wintory, the composer for Journey, for this talk, and got a quote from him. The ability to grow as a human being and live life in parallel to the growth of your teammates creates an X factor that there is no substitute for. So this is Austin Wintory, the composer of Journey, Flow, Banner Saga, many, many films. He was on Journey for 3 years. He was nominated for a Grammy recently. He was writing that music from day one for 3 years. I'm not saying you need to get an audio guy for 3 years to get good stuff out of them, but I'm saying that it can be very, very important and make a massive difference. If they got him a month before, it would have been great. He's an amazing composer, but would it have had the same impact? Probably not. So, let's go over rewrites and do-overs. These are fine. These are common things when dealing with audio people, but don't abuse them. If someone gives you a track or a package of sound effects, sit on them for a bit. Wait a day, wait 2 days if you can. Really listen to them to see what were they trying to communicate with you? Were they saying, all right, here's what I think the game should sound like. If you don't like it immediately, it may grow on you, or if you don't like it immediately, or you do, you may hear things in it when you listen to it the second, the third, the fourth time that you didn't hear the first. This is really important. So don't ask for rewrites and do-overs as soon as you get those files and listen to them once real quick. Sit on it if you can. If you have the time, I highly recommend it. And ask for a style guide. This is basically a package of 10 MP3s or so, all 30 seconds long around, and renamed 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Now, this is something that the composer or sound designer can give to the developer. This is something that they can take. They can take basically music and sound from movies, games, something they've done, anything like that, and hand it off to see what the developer likes. So the developer will email them back and say, I really like 1, 4, and 2, but I really hate the rest of it. So then the composer or sound designer can say, all right, fantastic. I have my general direction, let's go. This will save an immense amount of time. Instead of make it sound blue, all right, I'm going to put some violin in there and hope it sounds blue. That's just a waste of time. So the style guide can make a huge difference. So let's go over this niggling little issue. Money. So there's a lot of different ways, of course, to pay in the indie world, especially. Now, if you're working at a company, you're on salary, great. But if you're not, if you're an indie, you're a freelancer, whatever, you're looking for an audio person, how do you pay them? What are the different rates? What are the averages? So here's some common ways. There are others. So this per project, just a lump sum. Here you go, do it, great. This is what I often do for if I'm doing music and sound effects. Per track of music, you're asking for a certain amount of money. Profit sharing is great, especially if there's not a lot of money up front from the developer. I'll take a 7% cut of sales after Apple takes their thing, whatever, anything like that. Per minute is also somewhat common for composition, especially. It's not done for sound design. This is so, 1 minute of music costs $700, let's say. I personally don't like to do this. I find this to be an unmusical way of thinking about it, but I might be mocked by people afterwards for saying that. Yeah, so these are common, and of course paying up front, paying in advance up front, half now, half when the project's over. These are all totally valid, and the best part about the indie world is that you can do what you, just make it up as you go along. You can totally do what you want. But these, of course, common methods. Now, we love what we do. So, saying that give us the opportunity to create powerful audio, and in the end, you will have a powerful game. Thank you very much.